"Sir, I'm going to need you to step aside," the TSA agent said, her voice firm but routine as she motioned toward the secondary screening area. The young man in front of her didn't argue. He stood tall in his dress uniform, pristine white gloves, polished shoes, and calm eyes that didn't flinch. Over his shoulder, he carried a polished wooden flag case, and in his hand, a sealed leather brief. To most people in line, he looked like just another soldier catching a flight. But what they didn't see, what only a few could begin to understand, was the gravity of what he carried. "Ma'am," he said quietly, "I'm escorting a fallen service member home. This case holds the burial flag. The brief contains his identification and documents for military transfer." His tone wasn't aggressive or annoyed, it was reverent, absolute. But the agent, unfamiliar with the insignia on his shoulder, hesitated. Her job was to enforce rules, and rules didn't bend for uniforms. She gestured him toward the metal detector, requesting a full screening. He didn't argue, didn't roll his eyes or sigh. Instead, he stepped aside, placed the case on the conveyor with the gentleness of someone laying down sacred ground, and held up his arms as instructed. The moment felt like any other to the staff. But something shifted in the air. Conversations in line began to quiet. The sound of luggage wheels slowed. People started to notice, not because of what he said, but because of what he didn't. A silence spread across the terminal like fog. One by one, travelers turned to look. An older man near the front removed his cap. A woman grabbed her young son's hand and whispered softly. No one spoke. No one moved. Because somewhere between the X-ray belt and the body scanner, everyone realized this wasn't just airport protocol. They were witnessing a final act of honor. The flag case slid out of the scanner, untouched, unscathed. The young guard retrieved it, brushing imaginary dust from the glass with his gloved fingertips, and turned to go. By the time a TSA supervisor arrived, eyes wide in recognition, it was too late for apology. "Sir, you didn't need to go through all that," he said with genuine remorse. The soldier simply nodded. "He deserves dignity, even here." The supervisor stepped back and saluted quietly. The rest of the line followed suit with silence, not commands. As the soldier approached the gate, word had already traveled. The flight crew stood ready. The pilot met him at the boarding door and said, "I'll make the announcement personally." On board, passengers had been notified of an early boarding for a military escort. No one complained. No one budged. A man in business class stood up and gave away his seat without a word. The flight attendant asked softly if the soldier needed anything. He shook his head. "Just a smooth flight," he said. For him. He buckled the flag case into the seat beside him. Treated it like a passenger, like someone who still mattered. Because he did. When they landed, the pilot came on the intercom. His voice was low, deliberate. "Ladies and gentlemen, we are honored to carry not just passengers today, but a hero. On board is a military escort accompanying a fallen soldier on his final journey. We ask you to remain seated as he exits, so we may show our deepest respect." Not one person stood. Not a child cried. Not a single overhead bin clicked open. The soldier walked down the aisle first, flag in hand. The silence followed him through the jet bridge, through the terminal, through the hearts of everyone who watched him go. On the tarmac, a military vehicle waited. 2 members of the honor guard stood in salute. As the casket was unloaded and the flag was gently placed over it, the sun peeked out from behind the clouds, casting a golden hue across the runway. One flight attendant wiped her eyes. "I've never seen anything like that," she whispered. Neither had most of the terminal. The TSA agent who had stopped him stood near the windows. She didn't apologize. She didn't need to. She simply nodded, hand over her heart. Later that day, someone posted the story online. It went viral. Not because it was loud, but because it was still. Not because it demanded attention, but because it showed the kind of reverence that doesn't need to be explained. One man, one flag, one final promise. He wasn't just a soldier, he was a tomb guard, a sentinel of silence, and in one ordinary airport, he reminded hundreds of strangers what extraordinary honor looks like. Before we wrap up this story, drop a comment and let us know where you're watching from. Don't just scroll, we're reading every single one. If this story touched you, Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let us know how you feel in the comments.